Well, let's stay in the US now, where lefty lunacy knows no bounds, at least until January 20, when hopefully Donald Trump will bring back some sanity. But for now, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are still in charge and still making mischief. Both have taken to social media overnight to celebrate Kwanzaa, a week-long African-American holiday that's basically an alternative to Christmas for black people. Kwanzaa was started in the 60s by a black nationalist movement founder who ended up serving prison time after being convicted for torturing two women. This founder also believed that Jesus was psychotic and that black people should shun Christianity. Joining me is Brad vs. Everyone podcast host Brad Polumbo. Brad, why are Joe Biden and Kamala Harris determined to push this holiday?
Well, I think it's just part of their addiction to identity politics. They've got to include everyone and have all the different options under the sun. Of course, the fact that it's not really a religious holiday and not really celebrated by any significant number of people in the United States. I've known and met many Black Americans who all support Christmas and celebrate Christmas. I've never actually met one that celebrates Kwanzaa. It was only invented in 1966 by a radical Black activist. So it's not really a thing. Kamala was called out for lying about celebrating it as a kid, though the time when she claims to have celebrated it was actually before its widespread adoption. So she got caught fibbing on that one, but I just think it's a tiny symptom of a broader disease where Democrats are so addicted to identity politics and representation and checking off every possible box that they don't do their research and they just kind of go along with whatever the message of the day is so they can get those extra virtue signaling points.
I want to ask you about a petition that's currently being run in the US by a transgender woman. That's a man who identifies as female. This person wants to be moved back to a female prison. Now, from what I can understand, help me if I get this incorrect, the prisoner was convicted of murdering their parents, was put in a female prison because the person identifies as a woman, was there for 3 years but was caught having sex with their female cellmate and then got moved to a male prison. But now the prisoner is petitioning to get back into the female lockup. I can't imagine why. Did I get the story right? And what on earth is going on there?
Yes, you did. And call me crazy, but I don't think double murdering your parents is very ladylike, actually. No, but it is insane. In many blue states in this country, they've adopted self-ID laws that essentially allow you to use whatever prison you identify as. And that means putting biologically male murderers in women's prisons. That is the stance of the modern Democratic Party and many LGBT activist organizations in the US. And I think that strikes most people as utter lunacy because while I understand everyone should be safe and should have their rights respected even while they're incarcerated, women's rights to safety trump the rights of a trans person who double murdered their parents to use the prison they identify as. And you are endangering women by putting violent biological males into their prisons and into their cells. But you know what? That's kind of where the Democratic Party is on these issues. So it's right in line with their official party position. This is the Democratic Party in 2024, putting male murderers in women's prisons, and shut up and accept it or you're a bigot. But I think most people can see through that, honestly.
And of course, Brad, we need to talk about things like this because it is in the United States, but Australian state governments have started to introduce self-identity laws as well, where you choose your own gender. And it's important we know the logical outcomes once you start down that ideological road. Speaking of ideological, let's talk about CNN. The latest TV ratings in the US show that viewers are abandoning the network in record numbers. Viewers are down, 52% since the election. Now, I wonder why that would be. Could it be CNN's reputation for pushing fake stories? Maybe it's their blatant bias against conservative. Could it be their constant pushing of racial division? Apparently, no, it's none of those things. CNN staff say they haven't been going hard enough on Donald Trump, and that's why people are tuning out. Surely they are delusional, Brad.
Yeah, I don't know. What is it? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. That appears to be what CNN is doing, because they went full anti-Trump resistance during his first presidency. There was no balance. They spent years with a mixture of fake and misleading coverage about Russia and supposed Russian collusion that never materialized between Trump and the Russian government, his campaign. But they don't seem to be changing course. I mean, they have a few hosts who occasionally host a Republican or a conservative, but most of the time you check out their network, it's just a liberal echo chamber. It's just a bunch of talking heads ranging from left to far left, agreeing with each other or shouting over each other about who can be more extreme. And people are tuning out. Yet, you know what they're tuning into? More and more independent media like Joe Rogan, whose numbers dwarf CNN, MSNBC at this point, and Fox News is doing very well in the ratings. So there is a demand among the American people for news, for journalism, for commentary. But CNN, what they're offering, people aren't buying it, especially young people. I don't know anybody who regularly watches CNN or MSNBC in my age demographic.
You are absolutely right. Young people are watching Rogan, not CNN. Brad, that's all I've got time for this evening. Thanks for joining me.